In the stormy, rain-soaked city of Seattle, a cold-hearted billionaire suddenly sees his life change because of a woman and a drenched child standing at the door of his tower. Maya, a single mother carrying countless scars from the past, never imagined that the apartment she rented would open the way to an entire new destiny. Amid schemes, the haunting shadows of harassment, and the weight of social prejudice, love grows quietly, fiercely, like a red maple in autumn. But will that love be strong enough to stand against power, deceit, and the ghosts that return from the past? This is a story about trust, the family we choose, and a kind of happiness that only arrives when we dare to step through fear and believe that we are worthy. Seattle has always been famous for its sudden rains. Sometimes it is nothing more than a thin mist, as soft as a breath. Sometimes it crashes down as if the sky itself were testing the limits of human endurance. That afternoon, heavy grey clouds rolled in, swallowing up the rare sunlight, and only minutes later, the entire city was drowned in a curtain of white water. Cars on Madison Avenue swayed beneath the storm. Pedestrians hunched inside their coats, rushing to find a cafe awning, a doorway, any scrap of shelter left unclaimed. From the 46th floor of Rainier Tower, Ethan Caldwell watched it all. He often prided himself on controlling every fluctuation in Seattle's real estate world, from capital flow and market trends to zoning plans that most people had never heard of. But today, something slipped beyond his control, not the rain, but the image of a woman and a child standing motionless across the street in the middle of a storm sweeping everything else away. The woman did not resemble the hurried shadows around her. She carried no umbrella and did not attempt to seek shelter. Her stance was upright, her shoulders shivering slightly beneath the gusts, yet her chin lifted in proud defiance. In her left hand, she gripped the small palm of a little girl, shielding her as though the whole weight of the world pressed upon those fragile fingers. The child wore a bright yellow dress, her pigtails soaked through, yet she smiled gleefully, holding up her hands to catch the rain. Ethan pressed his palm against the cold glass. A strange sensation clenched his chest. He was used to distance seeing the city as numbers, parcels of land, financial currents. But this image was not data, not investment risk. It was life. It was resilience. And he, a man who had lived too long in flawless order, suddenly felt his heart tremble. "Mr. Caldwell," came the voice of Claire Monroe, his loyal assistant, through the intercom, snapping him out of thought. "Your 3 o'clock appointment has arrived." The mother and daughter, they're dripping wet from the rain. Ethan glanced at his watch. 2:58. It was them. He tightened his hand against the glass and gave a short command, "Send them up, both of them." 15 minutes later, the office door opened. The woman stepped in, leaving behind glistening rain trails on the polished wooden floor. The child clutched her mother's dress, her round eyes wide as she gazed at the luxurious space like she had wandered into a castle. Ethan felt his throat tighten. The woman was unlike anyone he had ever seen. The rain had made her black hair shimmer with a jewel-like sheen, her deep brown skin glowing defiantly against the storm outside. She stood around 5'7", her figure slender yet steady. Her simple black dress clung, drenched, to every natural curve, not the polished glamour the elite adored, but a raw grace that could neither be bought nor learned. But her gaze held him captive, amber-brown eyes, luminous yet weary, both guarded and unyielding. The eyes of someone who had endured too much, never once surrendered. "Caldwell," he said, his voice rougher than usual. "Good afternoon, Ms. Jefferson," she replied, her tone low but steady. "Maya Jefferson. And this is my daughter, Alana." The little girl stepped forward, lifting her face toward Ethan without fear. "Are you the kind man who will let us live in this castle?" Ethan let out a soft laugh, kneeling to her height. "And what makes someone kind, Alana?" Alana tilted her head, pondering seriously like a tiny philosopher. "They have to make my mommy smile, give us yummy food, know how to fix things when they're broken, and never promise something they won't do." The simple truth of it pierced Ethan's chest. Years of managing billions, no one had ever defined kindness for him so clearly. He smiled, nodding slowly. "I think I can manage all that." The elevator carried the three to the 15th floor, where apartment 15B awaited. The door opened, and the mother and child entered another world. Sunlight flooding through expansive windows, polished wood floors reflecting the stormy Puget Sound beyond, a warm, open kitchen inviting them in. "It's so pretty, Mommy," Alana cried, darting about, her tiny shoes leaving watery prints. "I can see the ocean out there, and there's a place for books, too." Maya moved carefully, her hand brushing along the shining kitchen counter. A brief smile flickered across her face, only to fade when reality returned. She turned back, her voice cautious. "Mr. Caldwell, this apartment is so beautiful that I fear I cannot afford it. Rent is $2,500 a month, utilities included," Ethan replied crisply. He noticed the slight tremor in Maya's hand as she drew a worn cash envelope from her bag, bills creased and fragile, each dollar hard-earned. It was clear in that moment that this was not family money, but sweat and sacrifice. Ethan almost mentioned the background check fee, but when he saw the tension in her eyes, he found himself saying instead, "I'll waive that fee. Consider it a welcome gift." Maya stared at him, measuring whether this was generosity or pity. At last, she straightened, her voice proud. "I don't accept charity." "This isn't charity," Ethan answered, his gaze steady on hers. "It's trust, and I believe you'll care for this place better than anyone." For a fleeting instant, her face softened. Gratitude shimmered there, quickly hidden away. Alana tugged on Ethan's sleeve. "Mr. Caldwell, can we stay here? Mommy likes it. I can tell." Ethan looked down into her wide brown eyes, then up at Maya, who was trying so hard to conceal her yearning. He heard himself declare, firm and resolute, "This apartment belongs to the two of you, starting today." That night, from the tallest penthouse in the city, Ethan kept his gaze on the 15th floor. The window sees two shadows, and the mother and child are sitting side by side under the glow of warm yellow light. They did not look up, and they did not know he was watching. Ethan had always kept his world in order. Business, property, social ties, all neatly arranged. But tonight, for the first time, he felt unmoored. A storm not from the sky, but from the proud eyes of Maya Jefferson had torn through the false calm of his life. And he knew, this woman and her little girl would not remain mere tenants. They would change his carefully ordered world chaotically and beautifully. The day they moved in, Seattle rained again. Not the fierce storm from when Ethan first saw the Jeffersons, but a slow, relentless drizzle, cold, lingering, the kind of rain that made locals call their city the Emerald City, polished by heaven's water. Maya pulled her coat collar high, the other hand clutching a cardboard box of clothes. Beside her, Alana hugged a worn-out teddy bear, eyes wide with excitement, as she stared up at Rainier Heights rising tall through the rain. To the little girl, the building was a glass castle. To Maya, it felt like a trial. She asked herself with every step inside, "Do I belong here?" The doorman bowed slightly, his voice polite. "Welcome, Miss Jefferson. Apartment 15B is ready for you." Maya nodded faintly, uneasy. No one ever bothered to remember her name in the shabby rental she had lived in. But here, everything seemed programmed. Everyone knew they were the new ones. The elevator opened, swallowing mother and child into a golden-lit chamber of mirrors. Alana took a deep breath, whispering, "Mommy, it's like in a movie." Maya let out a short laugh, tinged with a catch in her throat. A worry stirred in her mind. Her daughter would get used to this luxury too quickly, and one day, if it were gone, her small heart might shatter. Apartment 15B opened before them. Light from the expansive windows poured in, reflecting across polished wood and modern furniture. Alana dropped her teddy bear and darted from room to room like a whirlwind, shouting, "There's a balcony, a place for books, a bathtub 3 times bigger than the old one." Maya lingered in the doorway, clutching the box like a life raft. For a moment, she felt like an intruder. White walls, marble counters, and a soft leather sofa resisted her presence. She had scrubbed toilets, waited tables, and worked endless shifts to afford cramped apartments. And now, with nothing more than the nod of a wealthy man, she stood in the middle of elegance. "Mommy, hurry," Alana called, tugging her mother's hand. "This is our room." Maya set the box down and followed. The bedroom was bright, with a wide bed covered in white sheets and windows opening onto the vast Puget Sound. Alana leapt onto the mattress, laughing freely. That laughter softened Maya's heart. She pressed a hand to her chest, whispering inwardly, "Maybe I should give her this chance, even if it's only temporary." That afternoon, Ethan appeared. He knocked softly, holding a basket of fruit. When the door opened, he found Alana sprawled on the rug with a pile of Legos, while Maya sat at the kitchen table, eyes fixed on the lease agreement. "Welcome to Rainier Heights," Ethan said, his tone warmer than usual. "I wanted to be sure you're comfortable." Maya looked up, slightly flustered. She wore a thin sweater, her hair tied back, and her face bare of makeup, yet effortlessly striking. She closed the lease with a decisive hand. "I'll sign it, and I'll pay on time. I don't want my circumstances to make me a burden." Ethan placed the basket on the table and sat across from her. He met her gaze, seeing both pride and unease in those eyes. "You're not a burden, Maya. I chose to trust you. Don't turn that trust into a weight on your heart." His words stopped her cold. How long had it been since anyone had spoken to her with such sincerity? At that moment, Alana ran over and shoved a green Lego piece into Ethan's hand. "Can you help me build a tower? Mommy doesn't know how." Ethan chuckled, kneeling on the floor and spreading out the blocks. Within minutes, the elegant apartment had transformed into a battlefield of colorful plastic. Maya leaned back against the table, quietly watching. The sight of her daughter's unrestrained laughter beside this man, this stranger, filled her with warmth and fear at once. Am I letting someone else in too far? Too quickly? Late that night, after Ethan left, Maya stood by the window. Rain still fell, city lights shimmering against the glass. Alana slept soundly on the bed, clutching her teddy bear. Maya pressed her fingertips to the cold pane and whispered to herself, "I have to be strong. For her. And for myself." Yet deep down, she knew the seed of change had already been planted. Ethan Caldwell, the powerful man she wanted to keep at a distance, was finding his way into their world, step by step, through the simplest means. A little trust and kindness. And Maya was no longer sure she had the strength to stop it. 3 weeks had passed since the Jeffersons moved into Rainier Heights. Seattle shifted in the subtle way only the patient could notice. The rain fell less often. The rare sunlight lingered a little longer in the afternoons. In apartment 15B, there were small but meaningful changes, too. Alana had begun settling into her new elementary school. Each evening, she chatted on about her classmates and teachers. Her laughter eased Maya's heart. Maya herself was finding stability at Morrison Financial. Numbers, reports, analysis, these were things she excelled at that reminded her she wasn't invisible. But that fragile peace was shattered one Friday afternoon. When Maya returned to her desk after lunch, a vase of crimson roses awaited her. Their petals were lush and proud, their fragrance heady, flooding the air. She froze. In her memories, roses had always been tied to beautiful promises, but because of that, they could also become the sweetest chains. No card, only the scent. "Maya, someone's paying attention," a co-worker whispered, eyes suggestive. "Who sent them?" "I don't know," Maya answered quickly, shoving the vase into a shadowed corner, but inside, her thoughts churned. The answer arrived soon enough. "Hope you like the flowers." A deep male voice came from behind. Maya turned and met eyes as cold as ice, hidden beneath a polished smile. Bradford Kellaway, her direct supervisor, a 42-year-old man with brown blonde hair, clad in a perfectly tailored grey suit. He was the image of success to most of the women in the office. To Maya, instinct screamed at once, predator. "Very unexpected," Maya said, keeping her tone steady. Bradford tilted his head, lips curling into a half smile. "Someone as talented as you deserves recognition. At Morrison, not everyone gets the chance to rise, but with the right guidance." He rested a hand on the back of her chair, leaning closer. "You could go very far." Maya's body tightened. Her fingers clenched around her pen, but she forced herself to remain calm, her voice firm. "I came here to work, not to receive flowers." Bradford's smile stiffened for a heartbeat, then softened into something falsely charming. Of course. But remember, Maya, in this city, your career and safety can depend on choosing the right person or the wrong one. The words clung to her like toxic fog the rest of the afternoon. That evening, Maya came home late. When she opened the door to 15B, she found that a neighbor had watched Alana, and Ethan was in the living room with the girl, building a Lego castle nearly as tall as the sofa. "Mommy's home!" Alana cheered, running into her mother's arms. Maya smiled, but shadows from earlier still clouded her eyes. Ethan noticed instantly. Once Alana skipped off to her room, he asked quietly, "Something happened?" Maya hesitated. She hated seeming like a fragile woman who needed protection. But Ethan's steady, unflinching gaze made her confess, "Someone sent me flowers. Not someone I wanted. And I'm not sure it'll stop here." Ethan was silent for a moment, then spoke, voice low and firm. "Flowers can be beautiful, but they also have thorns. If someone uses them as chains, that's not admiration. That's control." Maya looked at him, startled by how quickly he understood. "What do you think I should do? Set boundaries. And if those boundaries are crossed, you don't have to endure it alone." The word "you" slipped out so naturally made Maya's heart jolt. But more than that, the certainty in his tone, solid as a wall, stirred her most. In that instant, Maya realized. His kindness didn't weaken her. It gave her the strength to keep resisting the darkness prowling near. That night, after Alana was asleep, Maya sat alone on the balcony. Below her, Seattle glowed in the rain, like a shattered mirror reflecting light. In her hand, a fallen rose petal. She crushed it, letting the torn red fragments scatter into the wind. No one had the right to turn her into a prisoner of a flower. But deep in her heart, she knew this was only the beginning. One Monday morning, as Maya walked into the offices of Cascade Financial, she felt something was off. Not because of the rain tapping lightly against the windows, but because another vase of crimson roses waited on her desk, this time with a hastily scrawled note. "Every door in this building opens at my command. Don't forget that." Maya's heart pounded wildly. Her hands trembled as she held the card. To her co-workers, nothing seemed unusual, but for her, every word cut like a blade against her skin. She forced herself through the day, but fear clouded every thought. When it was time to leave, she avoided the elevator, choosing the stairwell instead. But a figure blocked her path as soon as she pushed open the basement garage door. Bradford. His breath reeked of liquor. His eyes were glacial, his smirk razor-thin. "I thought you knew better manners. Ignoring roses. That's rude. What do you want from me?" Maya gripped her bag strap, forcing her voice steady. Bradford stepped closer, pressing her back toward the cold concrete wall. "I want you to understand who holds power in this company. Be smart, and you'll have my protection. If not," he leaned to her ear, voice hissing, "you'll lose more than just a job." Maya's throat burned dry. She wanted to scream, but instinct told her silence was safer. She managed only one sentence. "I am not a possession." Bradford sneered, releasing her. "Don't be so sure. Tomorrow night, 21st floor conference room, 6 o'clock. Be there if you want to protect everything you care about." His gaze dropped to the silver ring on her finger, a cheap band from her student days. Maya understood his threat wasn't aimed only at her, it was aimed at Alana. Back at Rainier Heights, Maya forced herself to act normal. Alana chatted excitedly about winning a gold star at school and drawing a flying dolphin. Maya smiled faintly, hugging her daughter tight, as if clinging harder might shield her from the danger lurking outside. But when Alana went to her room, Maya broke down in tears. A knock at the door startled her. She wiped her face quickly before opening it. Ethan Caldwell stood there, shirt still creased, rainwater clinging to his hair. His dark eyes bore into her, stern and unyielding. "What happened at work?" Maya froze. "Why? Why would you ask that?" Ethan lifted his phone and played back a recorded building maintenance request. It was her voice at noon, trembling though she tried to sound calm, insisting that he check the air conditioning thrice. "You repeated yourself, begging for help," Ethan said quietly. It sounded like a coded message. Maya's breath quickened. He had heard. He had understood. She turned away, ashamed to let him see her fear. But Ethan stepped inside, shutting the door, his voice dropping low. "Maya, I don't need the truth dressed up. I need to know who's making you afraid." Her body shook. Part of her wanted to stay silent, and the other part wanted to scream and let someone else carry the weight. At last, the words slipped out. "Bradford Whitmore, my supervisor. He's gone past words now. And he knows about Alana." Ethan's expression hardened, his restraint melting into icy steel. "He threatened your daughter?" Maya nodded, tears falling unchecked. "I don't know what to do. If I resist, I lose my job. If I stay quiet, he'll push further. I'm scared." "There are no more ifs," Ethan cut in, his voice resolute. "From this moment, you are not alone. I won't let him touch you or Alana." His vow wrapped around her like armor. Maya's heart pounded with a dangerous mix of relief and fear. Fear because she wanted to believe in a man's promise for the first time in years. The next evening, at 5:45, Maya stood before the bathroom mirror in Rainier Heights. She knew Bradford was waiting on the 21st floor. A part of her considered going not to obey, but to end the fear by facing it. But when she stepped into the living room, Alana sat on the rug, happily drawing a family picture, a mother, a little girl, and beside them a tall man holding both their hands. "Who's this, sweetheart?" Maya asked, her voice hoarse. Alana looked up, eyes sparkling. "That's Mr. Ethan, because he's the good man you need, Mommy." The answer broke her. Maya sank, clutching her daughter tight, and at that moment, she knew she would not be sitting in that conference room. Meanwhile, Ethan Caldwell stood before the glass wall in the penthouse high above Rainier Heights, gazing down at the glittering city. His mind held no balance sheets, no investment deals, only one thought: whoever dared to bring fear to Maya and Alana would pay the price. Maya Jefferson had never imagined how easily the truth could be twisted, but that Monday morning, she felt it as soon as she entered Cascade Financial. Co-workers avoided her eyes, whispers trailed behind her, and on her desk not roses this time, but a white envelope stamped with the company logo. "Report to Human Resources immediately." Her heart sunk. Inside the HR office, 3 people waited: the head of HR, an in-house lawyer, and Bradford Whitmore. His smug smile made Maya's stomach churn. "Miss Jefferson," HR began, tone carefully neutral, "there are serious allegations that need addressing. According to reports, you engaged in harassment toward your supervisor." Maya froze. "What?" Bradford exhaled, feigning the weariness of a wounded man. "I tried to keep this quiet, but when she kept sending me personal messages, seeking meetings outside work, even hinting at special arrangements in exchange for promotion, I had no choice." "That's a lie." Maya shot to her feet, pulse racing. "He's the one harassing me. The roses, the threats. Do you have evidence?" The lawyer cut in coldly. Her breath caught. She had destroyed the petals and torn up the notes. All that remained were memories and fear. "We'll conduct an internal investigation," HR said, voice final. "In the meantime, you are suspended from duty." Bradford's smile deepened, his eyes glittering with victory. That afternoon, Maya carried a cardboard box of personal items from Cascade Financial. Seattle's rain fell heavily, soaking the sidewalks. She walked quickly, yet every step felt like stone. Around her, people hurried beneath umbrellas and raincoats, but to her, the city had closed in tight, suffocating. Her phone buzzed in her bag. A text from Ethan. "I heard. Come to the penthouse. We need to talk." She hesitated. She didn't want to become his burden. Yet a quiet part of her knew if anyone believed her, it was him. Ethan Caldwell's penthouse sat at the top of Rainier Heights, facing Puget Sound. But that day, Maya saw nothing but gray rain. Ethan was already waiting in the living room. No polished suit, just jeans and a rolled-sleeve shirt, yet his presence radiated undeniable authority. "Sit," he said, his voice steady but gentle. Maya lowered herself onto the sofa, hands clenched tight. They believed him. They said, "I harassed Bradford. I don't have a job anymore." "That won't hold," Ethan said firmly. Because I'll take care of it. She stared at him, tears brimming. You don't understand. He has power, connections. I'm just a single mother. Who's going to believe me? I do. Ethan leaned forward, his dark eyes steel. And I don't mean just words. I have a way to prove it. Maya trembled. What way? He rose, crossed to his desk, and pulled out a folder. I'm not just the owner of Rainier Heights. I'm also a silent investor in Cascade Financial. I have access to personnel files, security footage, and internal data. If Bradford is lying, I'll find it. Maya's breath caught. You're an investor? For 3 years now. He placed the folder on the table. And I won't let my company become a hunting ground for predators. The room fell into a heavy silence. Maya lowered her head, tears sliding down not from weakness, but from the shock of finally meeting someone who didn't just promise help, but could actually help. Ethan, she whispered, why do you care so much about me? He paused, then spoke slowly, each word etched into the air. Because you deserve protection, because Alana deserves to grow up safe, and because I can't stand by while someone I care about is destroyed. Her heart faltered, caught between warmth and fear. In his eyes, she saw no pity, only respect and something more profound, far more dangerous. Affection. She drew in a long breath, then nodded softly. All right, I trust you. That night, back in apartment 15B, Alana ran to her mother, holding up a drawing. Mommy, today at school, I drew a family picture. The teacher said I could draw 3 people. She handed over the paper, covered in bright colors. A small house, a mother, a little girl, and beside them a tall man with black hair, holding both their hands. Maya's throat tightened. Sweetheart, who's this? Alana beamed. That's Mr. Ethan, because he's a good man, and good men belong in the family. Maya pulled her daughter into her arms, heart aching with warmth and pain. If Bradford was the chain, then Alana and Ethan were wings. And she vowed silently, however much the truth was twisted, she would not let the darkness win. Ethan Caldwell was not a man easily moved. He had met hundreds of executives, signed thousands of contracts, and brushed against countless faces and stories. Very few of them left any lasting trace, until one evening, as he sat alone in his office with files on Bradford spread before him, his eyes caught on a name. Maya Jefferson, an old friend. The man who had died in an accident a decade ago. The man Ethan had once promised to look after, if fate ever gave him the chance. His chest tightened. Memories came rushing back. 15 years earlier, Daniel had been his fellow cadet in ROTC training. Ethan, heir to a wealthy family, was there for discipline. Daniel lived for it. He was warm, witty, and always shielding the vulnerable. Once, when their whole unit was punished and left standing in the freezing rain, Ethan nearly collapsed. Daniel had pulled him up, draped his jacket over Ethan's shoulders, and whispered, Caldwell, life won't always be fair, but at least we can be fair with each other. Those words etched themselves into Ethan's memory. Years later, Daniel died in a fire, rescuing others. Ethan had sworn before the coffin at his funeral, if I ever meet your family, I will not turn away. And now, here she was. Maya Jefferson, the proud, resilient woman carrying the very name that bound him to that oath. Ethan needed to be sure. The next day, under the pretense of delivering lease documents, he knocked on the door of 15B. Alana flung it open, beaming. Mr. Ethan, Mommy's making dinner. Come in. Maya looked up from the kitchen, surprised but smiling. You came at the right time, dinner's almost ready. The air was fragrant with chicken soup. Ethan sat at the table, watching mother and daughter. The golden light softened Maya's face, lending her a rare peace. This. Alana placed a small photo frame on the table, proudly showing it off. This is my uncle. Mommy says he was a hero. Ethan lifted the frame and his heart stilled. It was Daniel, the same steady eyes, the same gentle smile. Just as he remembered, his voice caught. Daniel, was your brother? Maya froze, amber eyes sharpening with caution. You knew him? Not just knew. Ethan set the frame down, his hand trembling slightly. He was my closest friend. He saved me more times than I can count." Silence lingered. Then, for once, Maya's proud gaze cracked into something tender. "I never thought I'd meet someone who knew Daniel. He was everything to me. When he died, my world collapsed." Ethan drew a long breath, fighting the flood of memory. "He once told me that if I ever met his family, I must protect them. Maya, now I understand what he meant." Tears slid down her cheeks, though she managed a fragile smile. "Maybe Daniel brought you here to keep his promise." After dinner, when Alana was asleep, Maya and Ethan sat by the window. Seattle glittered beneath a fine drizzle, like a veil of woven mist. Maya whispered, "Do you know Alana never met her father? She only has me. And now, her uncle in that picture." Ethan turned toward her. At that moment, he saw clearly that Maya was not just a woman he was drawn to. She was the last piece of his lost friend. And Alana was more than a child needing safety. She was family. And so, Ethan realized, this bond was no accident. It was fate, stitched together by friendship, loss, and hope. He placed his hand gently over hers, squeezing softly. "I once promised Daniel. Now I promise you and Alana. I will never leave you alone." Maya trembled, but for the first time, she did not pull her hand away. That night, back in his penthouse, Ethan stood before the glass wall, eyes drifting toward the lights of 15B below. Daniel's words echoed again. "Life won't always be fair, but at least we can be fair with each other." Now Ethan knew that fairness meant using his wealth, power, and heart to defend those who had no one else. And he knew, too, the battle against Bradford Whitmore was no longer just about business. It was about keeping a promise to a fallen friend. Seattle, in June, sometimes gifted its people with rare, clear days. No longer hiding behind grey clouds, the sun spilled golden light like honey across the city. On one of those days, Ethan Caldwell decided to take Maya and Alana to Discovery Park, the place he had often gone seeking peace in his loneliest years. "Wow!" Alana squealed as Ethan's SUV rolled to a stop. Before her stretched a vast green field, and beyond it, the shimmering waters of Puget Sound. Mommy, it's huge. Can I run?" Maya laughed softly, nodding. "But don't go too far." Alana darted off like a sparrow freed from its cage. Ethan and Maya strolled behind her, the air between them lighter than ever. "You come here often?" Maya asked, eyes following her daughter. "Yes," Ethan replied, hands in his pockets. "When the pressure gets too heavy, I stand on that cliff and look at the water. For a while, everything feels smaller." "Daniel came with me once." A smile touched Maya's lips, the breeze lifting strands of her hair. "He used to tell me Seattle could rain all year, but it was worth the wait when the sun finally came out." "Just like you," Ethan said, without thinking. Maya stopped, startled. She turned to him. His face was calm, but his dark eyes shone with sincerity. Her heart quickened. She didn't reply, just turned away, though a faint smile curved her lips. Later that afternoon, Ethan brought out a brand new bicycle. "For me," Alana gasped, eyes sparkling. "For you," Ethan nodded. "Big girls need to learn to ride." Maya bit her lip. "But she's never tried before. She'll fall." Ethan smiled gently. "Everyone falls a few times. What matters is having someone there to help you up." He crouched, steadying the bike as Alana climbed on. The first attempt, she wobbled badly, nearly toppling over. Maya started forward, panic rising, but Ethan caught the bike quickly. "It's okay, Alana. I'm here." After a few more tries, Alana managed to ride several meters alone. Her laughter rang across the park. Maya watched, her heart trembling with warmth. At that moment, she realized, Ethan wasn't just a good man in her daughter's eyes. He was becoming the father Alana had never known. The three sat on a wooden bench as the sun sank, watching the sky turn crimson over Seattle. Alana leaned against Maya, teddy bear in hand. "Mommy," she murmured sleepily, "can Mr. Ethan stay with us forever?" Maya stiffened, glancing at Ethan. He didn't answer immediately, just stroked Alana's hair until she drifted off to sleep. Then, in the quiet, he turned to Maya. "You know, Alana taught me something. Happiness isn't about what we can buy. It's about having someone who calls you family. Maya's heart trembled. For years, she had lived only to survive, to protect her child. Happiness had been too costly, too distant. But now, looking into Ethan's eyes, she began to believe she might actually deserve it. Ethan lingered at the door after dropping Maya and Alana at their apartment that night. He took a deep breath and said, "Slow but steady. Maya, I don't want just to be your landlord. I want to be the one you lean on, and the man Alana can call father." Her pulse pounded. She looked straight into his eyes. There was no pity, no force, only truth and resolve. Tears rose, and she whispered, "I'm afraid of losing everything if you change your mind one day." Ethan clasped her hand gently. "I don't make empty promises. I'll prove it with every action. Maya, give me the chance." And in that moment, beneath the warm hallway light of Rainier Heights, Maya nodded softly. There is no full acceptance yet, but the opening is beginning. Ethan knew then. They had stepped into a new chapter. Late summer in Seattle meant less rain and more sunlight. Yet for Maya Jefferson, the sky still felt heavy. Bradford Whitmore had not stopped after costing her her job. He spread rumors, whispers that Maya was a smooth manipulator, that she had used her looks to climb, that his career had been ruined because of her. When Maya entered the supermarket some evenings, she felt the sting of stares. People murmured behind her back. A few former colleagues even avoided greeting her. That silent isolation cut deeper than public insults ever could. Alone, Maya might have broken. But now, she was no longer alone. Lawyer Marcus Levine laid out a thick file in Ethan's penthouse office. Sharp-eyed behind his glasses, his calm voice carried weight. "I've interviewed 5 women who once worked under Bradford. Every single one had experiences like Maya's. Unwanted gifts, suggestive messages, even forced private meetings. Some left quietly. They were afraid because the Whitmore family has political reach." Maya clenched her fists. "Who will speak out if they're all too afraid?" Marcus fixed his gaze on her. "You." Ethan cut in, his tone icy. "Or I can make this quicker. A few calls, some financial pressure, and Bradford will be out. No court, no press. Clean." Maya turned to him, her eyes steady. "Ethan, you don't understand. If you do that, he'll resurface somewhere else, hurting more women. I don't want justice in the shadows. I want justice in the light." The room fell into silence. Ethan studied her for a long time, then finally nodded. "All right. If you choose that path, I'll walk it with you." Over the following weeks, Maya met the other women. Some shook as they spoke, some broke down in tears. Shared pain bound them together, turning them from scattered victims into a collective voice. At one closed meeting, Marcus looked around the room and said firmly, "You're not just telling your stories. You're telling the story of hundreds of women silenced out there." Maya gripped the hand of a young woman beside her and whispered, "We won't be silent anymore." On the day of the trial, the media swarmed. Cameras flashed, microphones thrust forward. "Miss Jefferson," a reporter shouted, "did you have a romantic relationship with Mr. Whitmore in exchange for advancement?" Maya stopped, lifted her chin, and spoke clearly. "I am not someone chasing favors. I am a mother, an employee, and a human being with dignity. We're not here to beg. We're here to make it clear. Power does not give anyone the right to turn women into objects." Her words rang out, broadcast live. Behind her, Ethan watched as though seeing a warrior step into her armor. The trial stretched over days. Bradford's lawyers struck relentlessly, dragging out her past, implying shame in her poverty. "Miss Jefferson," one sneered, "you once worked at a fast food restaurant, as a janitor, and lived in low-income housing. Do you think that affects your credibility?" Maya held her head high. "I'm not ashamed of those jobs. They fed me and my daughter. If you believe poverty is a crime, then you don't understand the meaning of dignity." The courtroom fell silent, then rippled with murmurs of agreement. In the end, after multiple women testified, after Bradford's messages and emails were exposed, his wall of power crumbled. The judge pronounced, "Bradford Whitmore is found guilty of sexual harassment and abuse of power in the workplace. Sentence, 5 years in prison, and barred from holding any managerial position for 10 years. Maya sat still, tears streaming not from sorrow but release. Ethan squeezed her hand and whispered, "You did it. Not just for yourself, but for everyone." As they exited the courthouse, golden afternoon light poured over Seattle. Ahead, dozens of women clapped and cheered. They were no longer isolated faces. They were a united force, and Maya stood among them like a banner raised high. In that moment, she knew, this was not just her victory. It was the victory of truth over lies, justice over power, dignity over prejudice. And when her eyes met Ethan's, his gentle yet fiercely proud smile told her everything. It was also the victory of love. In the wake of Bradford's trial, Seattle buzzed with talk of justice, of women daring to rise. Maya was invited to interviews, to write, and even offered to speak at international conferences on gender equality. Yet amid all the attention, the greatest joy was watching Alana's carefree smile. Each morning, the little girl ran through Ethan's spacious apartment, chirping, "Mommy, Mr. Ethan makes better pancakes than you." Maya pretended to scowl, while Ethan only laughed, bending to tie the girl's shoelaces. Family. A word Maya had once thought she would never know. Maya received a letter one autumn morning, with maple leaves glowing red along the street to Alana's preschool. A yellow envelope, handwriting scrawled, "To Maya Jefferson." Inside, only a few lines. "I want to see my daughter. If you refuse, I'll pursue my legal rights. James Carter." Maya's blood froze. James, the name she had buried for 6 years, the man who had abandoned her when he learned she was pregnant, who told her to handle it yourself. Now he was back, and he wanted Alana. That evening, Maya sat in Ethan's living room, hands trembling as she held the letter. "He wants custody," she said hoarsely. Ethan took the paper, his eyes darkening. "This man, he's Alana's biological father?" Maya nodded, throat tight. Ethan's hand rested on her shoulder. "Listen to me. Alana is your daughter. He walked away from the start. Now he smells money and fame. He has no right to destroy what we have. But the law," Maya whispered, "if he hires lawyers, if he proves financial stability, money doesn't replace love or responsibility." Ethan cut in. "You raised her alone for 6 years. He doesn't stand a chance. And if it comes to it, I'll fight with you." His eyes burned with steel, yet when they turned to her, they softened so much she nearly wept. The meeting came a week later, at a downtown cafe. James Carter sat waiting, hair slicked, a luxury watch flashing beneath the lights. Maya entered with Ethan. James smirked. "Well, look at you, from a poor nobody to a hero on TV, clinging to a billionaire. You really picked the right door." Ethan squeezed Maya's hand under the table, steadying her. "James," Maya said coldly, "you're not here to sneer. The only thing we discuss is Alana. What do you want?" "I want to see her," James replied, eyes gleaming. "She's my daughter. I have rights." Maya let out a bitter laugh. "You're her blood, but never her father. Where were you when I worked 3 jobs to keep her fed? When she burned with fever, and I sat awake all night by her bed? You never sent a dollar. Never a word. Now what do you want?" James shrugged. "He made mistakes. Now I want to fix them." Ethan's voice cut like ice. "Fix them or cash in. Let me guess. You want to leverage Alana for a payout? A few million, maybe?" James arched an eyebrow but didn't deny it. "I'm not the bad guy here. I want recognition and visitation rights. If you cooperate, we can arrange it. If not," he leaned back, smile sharp, "the court will decide for us." Maya shivered. Ethan's warm hand covered hers, silently vowing no one would steal their daughter. Days blurred into tension. Maya couldn't tell Alana or bear to shatter her world. When her daughter proudly showed a drawing of Mommy, me, and Mr. Ethan, Maya's heart cracked anew. One night, after Ethan tucked Alana into bed, he found Maya in the kitchen, crying silently. He wrapped his arms around her from behind. "I promise," he whispered, "I won't let him hurt her. I'll use everything money, lawyers, influence to protect our family." Maya turned, clinging to him. "Ethan, I'm scared. I know. But we're not alone anymore. You have me, and Alana has both of us. As Marcus prepared the legal case, another blow fell. The press leaked the story of James Carter as the abandoned father of Alana Jefferson, the daughter of Seattle's anti-harassment heroine. Reporters swarmed. Some headlines even suggested Maya had hidden her child's father to climb higher. Maya seethed, but Ethan only held her hand. Let me handle the noise. Just stay calm. Justice is still on our side. At the custody hearing, James appeared flanked by a squad of attorneys. His suit was sharp, his words dripping with contrition. I was young and reckless, but I've changed. I want to be part of my daughter's life. Maya stood, voice unwavering. The man before you is not a father. He is the one who abandoned me when I needed him most. My daughter grew up without him for 6 years and was happy. I won't deny Alana the truth of who he island, but I will never allow anyone, even him, to use her as a bargaining chip. Ethan stepped forward, his voice steady and firm. I have been there. I've taken her to school, cooked her breakfast, and cared for her when she was sick. Blood does not define a father. Love and responsibility do, and I will protect Alana with everything I have. The courtroom fell silent. James had no reply. At last, the judge delivered the ruling. James had the right to know of his child's existence, but no custody, no visitation, unless Alana chose to meet him when she was old enough to understand. The verdict lifted the chains from Maya's chest. On the courthouse steps, she hugged Alana tightly, whispering, "No one will ever take you from me. You are my whole world." Ethan placed a hand on both of them, smiling with pride. And mine too. At that moment, Maya knew that the ghost of the past had been banished. Their little family, imperfect but strong, was bound together by love. Seattle glowed in a rare spring afternoon, rays of sunlight piercing through the grey clouds to bathe Chihuly Garden and Glass in golden light. There, beneath the shimmering glass domes, a ceremony was about to take place, not just a wedding, but the consecration of a family that had weathered every storm. Maya stood in the bridal room, cloaked in a soft lace gown. In the mirror, for a fleeting second, she saw her past self 6 years ago, exhausted, pregnant, abandoned, hopeless. The image dissolved as Alana burst in, her slight floral dress fluttering, 2 eyes sparkling. "Mommy, you look like a princess from a fairy tale." Maya laughed, kneeling to hug her. "And you're my little princess. Today, we finally become a real family." Alana giggled. "Mr. Ethan said tonight I get the first dance with him too." Maya's heart softened. That word Mr. had slowly, quietly, become Dad in Alana's daily life. And today, it would become official. In the radiant glass garden, Ethan waited. A black-tailored suit, hair neatly combed, but his eyes restless, almost boyish with nerves. Marcus, friend and lawyer, leaned over with a smirk. "You've signed billion-dollar contracts without sweating, and now you're shaking, waiting for your bride." Ethan chuckled faintly, gaze locked on the flower-strewn aisle. "Contracts can be broken, but I only have one chance with Maya to get it right." The music began. Alana walked first, tossing rose petals that glittered in the sunlight reflected on the glass. Cameras flashed, smiles bloomed across the room. Then Maya stepped forward. A veil softened her face, light cascading off her gown like she carried her halo. Ethan drew a sharp breath, hand over his chest to steady the pounding heart inside. When she reached him, he extended his hand. Hers slid into it, trembling not from fear, but joy. The officiant's voice rose. "We gather today, under this canopy of light and love, to witness the union of Ethan Caldwell and Maya Jefferson." The words filled the air. But for Ethan and Maya, the world had narrowed to just the two of them. When it was time for vows, Ethan's voice was steady, deep with emotion. "You came into my life like a Seattle storm, sudden, fierce, undeniable. You taught me that a home is not steel and glass, but a place of laughter, tears, and love. I vow to protect you and Alana with everything I am, today and forever." Tears spilled beneath Maya's veil. She breathed deeply, then answered, "You saw me when I felt invisible. You believed in me when the world turned away. You became Alana's father not by blood, but by love. I vow to walk beside you through every season of Seattle and love you until my last breath." Applause thundered as the officiant declared, "I present to you, husband and wife Ethan and Maya Caldwell." Ethan lifted her veil and kissed her, not flamboyant, but tender, carrying promise, healing, and a new beginning. The reception shimmered under the kaleidoscope of Chihuly's glass art, light scattering like a dream. Alana darted around with a toy microphone, announcing, "Today, I officially have a daddy, and he promised me more ice cream every weekend." Laughter rippled through the hall. Ethan scooped her up, kissing her cheek. "That's true, princess, but I promise you even more. I'll always be there, in sunshine or rain." From her seat, Maya watched them, her heart overflowing with a peace she once thought impossible. When the first dance began, Ethan led Maya onto the floor. They swayed in golden light, eyes never leaving each other. "Do you remember the first day I saw you? In the rain?" Ethan whispered. Maya smiled through tears. "I was drenched like a stray cat, and you looked at me as if I was the greatest mystery." "Not a mystery," he murmured. "Destiny." The music faded, and applause and cheers swelled. Alana ran out, squeezing between them. Family hug. So there, beneath the glittering glass, the three of them embraced, the light scattering like blessings from the sky. After guests had gone, Maya stepped outside late that night, gazing at the Seattle sky. Fine rain drifted down the kind she once despised. Now, it felt like grace. Ethan came behind her, draping his jacket over her shoulders. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking, I'm finally home." He kissed her forehead. "And from today on, this will always be your home, our home." Inside, Alana slept curled on the sofa, clutching the teddy bear Ethan had given her. Maya looked at her daughter, then at the man beside her, and knew that every wound and shadow of the past had been replaced by something eternal, by love that would last forever.